In the chilling and damp days of March 1966, England was hopelessly living in the relentless grip of a completely unprecedented national fever. The collective anxiety and passion of the football-obsessed population had reached a boiling point, transforming the daily atmosphere of the country into a chaotic mixture of intense public anticipation, nationalistic pride, and immense pressure. Only a few anxious months separated the historic country from proudly hosting the absolute biggest, most highly anticipated sporting event on the entire planet, the legendary Football World Cup tournament. Across every major city square and crowded street corner, massive countdown billboards and colorful national flags reminded citizens that the eyes of the entire world were soon to be locked firmly onto Great Britain. But behind this massive wall of public enthusiasm, and right in the middle of broad daylight, a shocking and incomprehensible crime occurred. This unexpected heist completely shook the global sports world to its absolute core, suddenly turning the historical pride of Great Britain into an embarrassing international laughingstock within a matter of minutes. The ultimate golden prize, the priceless Jules Rimet World Cup trophy, was suddenly and inexplicably gone without a single trace. The physical symbol of global football supremacy had simply vanished into thin air, leaving behind broken metallic locks, empty exhibition space, and an immediate wave of pure panic. It had completely disappeared from deep inside what was supposed to be a heavily fortified glass display case, leaving behind a profound, terrifying mystery. This impossible heist utterly baffled the elite detectives of Scotland Yard, raising many haunting questions about security flaws that would remain entirely unanswered for decades to come. Welcome, true crime enthusiasts, to the thrilling and unbelievable story of the ultimate World Cup trophy theft. Prepare to dive deep into a complex web of high-stakes criminal cunning, institutional failure, and a series of historical events that pushed the British government to the edge of total disaster. Our dramatic story officially begins on the damp morning of March 20th, 1966, an ordinary Sunday that would soon turn historic. Outside the prestigious and architecturally grand Westminster Central Hall, vintage cars parked along the rain-slicked curbs as the heavy London mist rolled slowly across the stone steps. Inside the luxurious high-ceiling spaces of the exhibition hall, a special and highly valuable display of rare postage stamps was currently being held. Affluent visitors dressed in formal 1960s attire quietly browsed the room, leaning over long glass tables under the warm, amber glow of massive crystal chandeliers. To maximize public attraction and draw larger crowds to the venue, the Football Association had agreed to proudly display the iconic World Cup trophy. Known at the time as the legendary Jules Rimet statue, it glowed brilliantly on a velvet pedestal inside its fortified glass case, reflecting the golden lights of the gallery. The Grand Exhibition Hall was believed to be heavily fortified against any threat, guarded by professional security men around the clock. The entire operation was heavily insured for exorbitant, staggering amounts of money, ensuring that nothing could possibly go wrong during its display. On that fateful Sunday, the lower floor of the massive building was buzzing with hundreds of innocent worshippers attending a traditional morning church service. Meanwhile, the silent upper floor housed the coveted golden trophy, an object that held priceless artistic, historical, and immense international political value. At exactly 11 o'clock in the morning, the uniformed guards conducted their routine rounds through the gallery, checking the display. The irreplaceable trophy was securely in its proper place, gleaming beautifully under the harsh exhibition spotlights as the guard checked his ticking pocket watch. But at exactly 12 minutes past noon on that very same day, the unthinkable and completely impossible happened. The calm atmosphere of the quiet gallery space suddenly shattered into a cold reality, drenched in fast-moving, anxious shadows as a deep security breach occurred. The patrolling security guard slowly approached the central display case, and the warm blood instantly froze deep inside his veins. He stopped completely dead in his tracks, his body paralyzing with sheer terror as he realized the devastating situation unfolding right before his eyes. The heavily reinforced glass display case was completely empty, with dust motes floating quietly through the lone beam of the overhead spotlight. The golden prize had been stolen right from under their noses, leaving the velvet pedestal bare and the security team in utter ruin. Upon further inspection, detectives discovered that the heavy wooden back door of the secure building had been breached. Its heavy metallic padlocks and strong security bolts had been carefully, methodically, and quietly removed by a highly skilled intruder who left no visible signs of forced entry. Strangely and deeply ironically, the mysterious thief completely ignored rows of incredibly rare and untouched postage stamps in the very same hall. These stamps were estimated to be worth a staggering £3 million sterling, yet the criminal settled only for taking the golden trophy, whose material gold value at the time did not exceed a few £1,000s. How did this lone criminal manage to bypass such a heavily fortified security system without anyone noticing a single thing? A low-angle look down the dark, smoky administrative hallways revealed an atmosphere of severe systemic failure, leaving investigators with an invisible trail. And who exactly was this mysterious, thin man in a trench coat, spotted talking intensely on a public phone near the hall minutes before the crime? His silhouette remained obscured by the thick fog and misty glass panes of the red telephone box, leaving his true identity completely hidden. The global press immediately went absolutely wild, splashing chaotic, bold headlines across thousands of newspapers as printing presses churned rapidly. The International Football Federation, known as FIFA, reacted with fury, directly threatening to cancel or completely move the prestigious tournament away from British soil. Great Britain found itself trapped in a deeply humiliating and historic predicament of epic proportions. Inside dark, smoke-filled government boardrooms, high-ranking officials sat completely defeated around large tables, their faces buried in their hands under the harsh overhead lights as national despair settled in. Exactly 2 days after the initial shockwave hit the nation, Joe Mears, the stressed chairman of the English Football Association, received a package. Standing in his dimly lit residential hallway, he held a brown paper parcel wrapped in tight twine, his face filled with deep apprehension. When he anxiously tore open the package on a wooden table, he instinctively took a sharp step backward in absolute horror. The paper fell away under the warm lamplight to reveal a piece of the stolen property, sending a cold shiver down his spine. The mysterious package contained the actual removable top liner of the golden trophy, sent as undeniable proof of life. Along with the metallic fragment lay a menacing handwritten ransom note on torn paper, sitting beneath a heavy, high-contrast shadow. The sinister, handwritten letter read exactly, "To Joe Mears. You must be looking with great anxiety at the loss of the World Cup. For me, it is just a weight of scrap gold. If you want to see it again, you must pay a ransom of £15,000 sterling, and do not dare inform the police, or we will melt the trophy." but Joe Mears refused to comply with the criminal's terrifying threat or let down his country. His expression turning from fear to fierce determination, he slammed his hand down on his wooden desk and decisively reached for his heavy vintage telephone to summon help. He went straight to the one legendary lawman in whom the entire British government had placed its absolute trust. That man was Detective Charles Buggy, a hardened investigator of the elite flying squad at London's Metropolitan Police, who looked up from his desk with piercing, unyielding eyes. Detective Buggy was certainly not a man to fear criminal threats or back down from a high-stakes challenge. Standing confidently in front of a large chalkboard, mapping out a complex sting operation, he immediately devised a brilliant and highly dangerous counterplan to trap the extortionist. Buggy contacted the bank authorities and requested a fake ransom bag to be meticulously prepared by security staff. Deep inside a secure bank vault, under cold fluorescent lights, gloved hands began carefully packing currency into a worn leather briefcase. The police team placed genuine banknotes at the very top and bottom of the stacks to fool the criminal's eyes. However, in the middle of the bundle, they packed nothing but worthless, neatly cut strips of ordinary black and white newspaper. The Football Association chairman carefully pretended to accept the terms of the deal exactly as instructed by the police. The mysterious kidnapper, who called himself by the alias Jackson, blindly took the bait and set a specific date and time to meet in the dark spaces of Battersea Park. In the deep, dark, and incredibly foggy night, a tense silhouette slowly stepped forward through the heavy mist. Edward Betchley walked cautiously toward a stationary vintage sedan parked under a weakly flickering streetlight, his body language radiating intense suspicion. He looked visibly nervous, his sweat-sheened face twitching slightly as his eyes darted frantically right and left into the surrounding dark woods. He knew that one wrong move in this pitch-black park could seal his fate forever. He quickly opened the car door and slid into the dark leather back seat, his face sharply illuminated by the dim dome light. His mouth opened in an intense, sharp command as he prepared to dictate the terms of the exchange. He said in a sharp, demanding tone, "Drive the car. The trophy is safely hidden in a nearby location. Take me there right now, and I will personally give it to you. Then you will hand over the bag of cash." Detective Buggy calmly drove the vehicle into the night, but Jackson suddenly glanced back and noticed something wrong. Looking through the blurry rear window, his eyes caught the unmistakable headlights of an unmarked, undercover police car trailing them through the dark streets. Absolute panic struck the criminal instantly. He began shouting frantic threats at the driver and lunged violently sideways. In a desperate bid to escape justice, he clawed at the door handle, trying to jump straight out of the fast-moving vehicle. But Detective Buggy pounced on him like a ferocious tiger, lunging cleanly into the back seat of the car. His strong arms wrapped into a tight, inescapable chokehold around Betchley's neck, pinning the struggling criminal firmly to the seat by force. At the local police station, under the harsh, glaring white light of a bright interrogation lamp, they finally unmasked the true face of Jackson. A detective forcefully pulled his chin up, exposing his disheveled, sweat-stained features to the investigators. He was none other than Edward Betchley, a well-known local petty thief, shifty used car dealer, and hardened ex-convict. He stood slumped against the police height chart during his mugshot, looking thoroughly bitter and defeated. Detective Buggy initially thought the complex case was completely over and that the missing trophy was finally back within his grasp. However, as he leaned against the interrogation table, his confident smirk slowly faded into a stiff, shocking realization. Betchley fiercely and repeatedly denied knowing the actual physical location of the stolen World Cup trophy. He spoke with a cold, mocking smirk that completely infuriated the exhausted investigators, refusing to give up his leverage. He leaned forward into the lamplight and confidently stated, "I am just a middleman. A mysterious, dangerous man named the Pole is the one who actually stole it, and he offered me £500 to act as his negotiator." The police forces immediately launched a massive operation, searching every single inch of Betchley's messy apartment. They turned the entire city of London completely upside down, ripping open drawers and using flashlights, but there was still absolutely no sign of the trophy. Betchley was swiftly sentenced to 2 long years in a harsh prison for his role in the extortion plot. Sitting motionless on a bench inside a dark concrete cell, he took the deep secret with him, choosing to remain completely silent. Slow days turned into anxious weeks. The start of the global tournament drew terrifyingly closer, and total despair began to creep into the hearts of the English public. A melancholy mood settled over an empty, rain-slicked Wembley Stadium under a depressing gray sky. That was until the morning of March 27th arrived, a day that would completely change the course of sports history forever. The breakthrough came from a quiet, ordinary residential location that absolutely no one in Scotland Yard could have ever predicted. In the peaceful, tree-lined residential suburb of Upper Norwood in South London, David Corbett, a simple riverboat worker, went out for a morning walk. Beside him trotted his loyal black and white collie dog named Pickles, moving quietly through a soft morning mist. Suddenly, Pickles veered sharply toward a dense green bush by the roadside, sniffing the damp ground with high intensity. The clever dog began wagging his tail rapidly, uncovering a tightly bound package wrapped in old newspaper and tied with coarse string. David initially panicked, thinking the mysterious object was a live bomb left over from the war or belonging to the radical IRA. But when he cautiously reached down and tore away a small corner of the damp newspaper, his eyes widened in absolute shock. Through the torn paper, he saw the brilliant golden wings of a sculpted winged woman holding a cup high. At the bottom base, he could clearly read the engraved names of the great nations that had previously won the World Cup. David ran as fast as his legs could carry him straight to the local police precinct, breathing heavily as he burst through the heavy doors. He aggressively slammed the heavy newspaper bundle down onto the sergeant's high wooden desk. He looked at the stunned, open-mouthed police officers standing around the room and shouted with a breathless, ecstatic face, "I think I've actually found the missing World Cup trophy." At first, the highly suspicious police officers intensely interrogated David himself, thinking he might be an accomplice to the heist. However, his innocence was quickly and cleanly proven, and Pickles the dog instantly turned into a massive national and global hero. England's global prestige and pride were completely saved, allowing the massive tournament to open with historic success. To make things even more perfect, the inspired England football team went on to famously win the world title that very year at Wembley. The heroic dog Pickles was even officially invited to the football team's ultra-exclusive celebration dinner. He sat proudly on a luxurious velvet chair at a candlelit banquet table, receiving a full year's supply of premium dog food as a reward. The wild story of the 1966 London theft had successfully concluded with a beautiful, triumphant, happy ending. However, a dark, mysterious curse did not seem to leave this legendary golden trophy alone for long. In 1970, a legendary Brazil team won the world title for a historic third time. earning the right to keep the original trophy forever. It was securely placed at the Grand Brazilian Football Confederation headquarters in sunny Rio de Janeiro. But in December 1983, a group of ruthless thieves broke into the Brazilian headquarters under the cover of a pitch-black night. Masked shadows moved swiftly through the dark trophy room with flashlights, breaching security to steal the priceless artifact once again. Unfortunately, this time around, there was no brilliant detective like Charles Buggy to track the clues, and no heroic dog like Pickles to sniff the bushes. The camera pulled back slowly from an empty pedestal, leaving only deep noir shadows and finality. The original, legendary Jules Rimet trophy simply vanished from the face of the earth forever. It is widely and darkly believed to have been melted down in a secret foundry into generic gold bars, sold off silently on the criminal black market. As for the original 1966 heist in London, dramatic journalistic reports published decades later finally revealed the truth. The actual thief, whom the police never managed to catch, was a clever local East End criminal named Sidney Cougulaire. Reports revealed he had stolen the world's greatest prize simply for the pure adrenaline thrill and the ultimate criminal challenge. He lived out his life in complete comfort, taking his massive golden secret with him all the way to his quiet grave. In a bizarre and highly ironic final tribute, his criminal family members even placed a massive funeral wreath shaped exactly like the World Cup trophy right against his polished wooden coffin during his rainy burial. The greatest, most coveted prize in sports history had fallen victim to one of the strangest, most atmospheric thefts in human history. It remains a tale caught between the sharp intelligence of elite detectives, the absolute silence of criminals, and the incredible nose of a loyal dog. Now we want to hear from you down in the comment section below. Do you believe the original World Cup was truly melted down into gold bars in Brazil? Or is it still hidden away in the secret basement gallery of a wealthy collector? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now and click the bell icon to follow the dark secrets of the world's most famous historical crimes with us. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all in the very next case.